Hi, everyone. I just wanted to add some closing comments as we wrap things up for the term. So first off, some practicalities. So for the final paper, some of you have submitted already, and good work getting things squared away. Some of you are still working on it, might need some extra time. As I mentioned in the email, they can be submitted up to Thursday, and then potentially after that, but it becomes harder because I have to submit my grades on Tuesday the 16th. So we'll need to talk about that to figure something out if that's something you think you might need. Another thing is that I want to remind you to fill out the participation self-evaluations. This isn't intended to be a hard thing to do. You've all done a really fantastic job with participation this year. I would expect that everyone would get full credit for that, but I still do want you to fill out the evaluations. The other thing is that there are course evaluations as well. You've probably gotten an email about that, but I've also posted a link in the final module. In terms of evaluating both the course and my teaching, the UW takes those quite seriously. And I always read them because I'm curious about what your experiences with the course was and any suggestions that people have for how to make it better. So I'd appreciate it if you could try and fill those out if you can. So I also just want to say a few words about the course as a whole. This has been honestly the strangest term I've ever taught as an instructor. COVID has entirely disrupted everything. I know that for you, as very often as parents, as nurses working with patients who have COVID, as leaders trying to lead the response to COVID, and as many of you not being able to work like you normally work, it's just been a tremendous upheaval. And you've done a fantastic job at adjusting to this as best you can. And I really do appreciate that. And, the term ending off with a really sad situation of the deaths of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery, and the resulting protests against police violence, which are really important for thinking more carefully about how we can change systems. Right. And hopefully good things will come out of that. But it's been very hard, I know, for many of you in handling that because it's a difficult situation. And this is the way our term closes out in addition to having COVID. So I appreciate all you're doing to keep on top of things despite that, but please know that if you need anything, if there's any way I can be supportive, you can, of course, contact me, and I'm always happy to chat with you. So, because of all this, the course has changed a fair bit. I know you didn't sign up to take an online course, and I didn't sign up to teach an online course either. But we all did our best, and we changed the course a fair bit. Reduce some of the material and change some of the way that we did a few things and some of the assignments. But I think overall we did a really good job of covering the key material. Now this course, as you know, is really the second half. Your first half, you were really thinking about research, what it means, how it's developed, how you critique it, how you read it, and how you apply it to understanding what it implies for your clinical setting. So that was the first half. And then this half was really trying to build our skills around improving quality in healthcare by developing programs that address this. Now, we covered a lot of material. We did a huge amount, actually. When you look back at it, through our papers, primarily, we looked at, and readings online, we looked at quality improvement, everything from evidence-based practice elements and competencies to how we take amorphous theories like care theories and apply them in actual real settings, to all the different types of quality improvement strategies and tools like the triple aim and stakeholder analyses and SWOT analyses and steps, etc. And also then going into some of the issues around how we deal with the fact that in healthcare, there's a lot of harms that occur for patients that were actually preventable, and thinking carefully about how we can use root cause analysis for example, to try and nail down how we can learn from those situations and improve. And also how we can create a just culture for creating a situation where people feel respected and able to talk about these things so they're not hidden, and so that people are supported in dealing with this. And then moving on to talk about other really fascinating things around how we actually change our systems and our culture in healthcare settings. So things like teamwork and managing transitions, right? Interprofessional approaches. These are really important strategies for thinking about quality improvement in healthcare. And then in the last module, we didn't have time to talk in class because of the presentations, but the Vogus article was really helpful, I think, for thinking about mindful approaches and distinct strategies for integrating reliability into healthcare systems and transitioning accountable care organizations to account for those reliability elements. And, thinking about the triple aim and how we can support leaders and build leaders and quality improvement professionals to actually change our dialogue there. And then the Chasen article is also really pretty interesting because it's a famous article that is put out by the Joint Commission that really tried to nail down some of these reliability principles and ideas and flesh out those details and think about and talk about what has been done in different healthcare settings and what research there is to show that this actually makes a difference. And also kind of chart a path forward for thinking about healthcare systems. And I kind of like closing up the course with those papers because it helps us to pull back and think a little bit about reliability as a whole and systems as a whole and how we can improve them. So this, we actually were able to cover a lot of the key concepts that we think about when we think about how do we improve quality for healthcare and what types of approaches and tools can we use to do that. The other element to this, of course, is program development. And that's a distinct skill. And some of you starting this course were familiar with that type of thing. And for some of you, this is some new ideas. And I hope that they were helpful for you in terms of developing skills that make you feel more confident that if you decide to do this in a healthcare setting, that you know some approaches and strategies for doing this. And you don't have to use all of them. You can pick and choose the ones that make sense to you and that are useful to you. But it's nice to know what's there, right? So that when you need it, you can make use of it. And that's everything from taking research and applying it, developing that background, to thinking about how to develop good questions or good issues that are the foundation for your project, to theories of change and stakeholder analyses and adapting to them, to using a logic model. These logic models are, for many people, really helpful for really clearly articulating what you want to do, and keeping that clear in your mind and helping communicate that to others. And when you need to evaluate it, having a system that you can evaluate effectively. And then, of course, we covered other things like ways that you communicate about this. We know that making change in healthcare is not just all about the evidence. It's also about sort of the situation and the politics in your healthcare setting, and thinking about how you can structure things to effectively tip the odds in your favor of actually making these quality improvement changes, right? And we also looked at some things that are sort of detail-oriented. So things like timelines and budgets, which help us to nail down those elements and help us to communicate better with people who will be asking, what's it going to take to actually make this happen? So I hope you enjoyed these projects as much as I did. I think that what you came up with was really impressive and interesting. You came up with projects that, if they were applied and implemented, would make a huge difference for real people, for our local communities, for our local healthcare organizations. These are things, this is how we make a difference. Systems have a tendency to just keep on churning away, and we know that they don't have the best results in many circumstances. And the best way for us to do this is integrate good evidence that tells us that we can make a difference. And if we adopt a new strategy, and offering to people a real plan for how we actually do that. And I'm really impressed by the work that you did to think about this, especially given the circumstances that we're dealing with this term. So, I appreciate how creative you were, how careful you were in terms of organizing this, and I just think that you all did really good work. So thank you for all that effort. So I hope that these skills are useful for you going forward. I know some of you maybe will do some of these projects, and I would love to hear about it if you do. And some of you will take these skills and apply it to other projects. And I'd also like to hear about that too. So, as I mentioned in the first class, one of the reasons I really love teaching this course is I feel good about the ways in which these skills are used to actually improve health care for our communities. And thank you for helping me to be able to contribute in that way. It's an honor to do that, and it's an honor to work with you. And, especially given the huge role that you're playing, both in the circumstances of what we're going on right now, but also in terms of really being the leaders that will change our systems going into the future. And I feel just so optimistic and honored to have had that opportunity. So please know that I'm available to you. If going forward, it'd be helpful to chat with me. I'm a resource for you, even after this course is over. And, I really wish you the best of luck. We're going to have strange times for a little while, but I really hope that it goes as well as possible for you. So be well and take care, everyone.